All right, guys, I'm Venus Has Risen. I will be your teacher for today. Yay! And today I will be teaching you how to use something called Trello board, which is this beautissimo website here. And by beautissimo, I mean beautiful. A little bit about Trello board before I show you the inner workings. It is a information organizational tool for either solo or group projects. It is really good for both. This is what your screen should look like, minus all of these boards. These boards won't be here unless if you've had Trello board before. And then to start a Trello board, you're gonna go to this little plus sign at the top, and you can either create a board or start with a template. I typically don't mess with the templates because I have my own way of setting up a Trello board. So I'm going to hit create board. It's always going to make you give your board a title. So today I'm going to give my board the title of TOD tutorial because that's what this is. You can have workspaces which do various different things. That's usually if you have different groups, essentially. Let's say I have one company I work for and they have more than one Trello board, and it would be in that workspace. But then I have a friend group that has their own selection of Trello boards. That's what those would be for. And then visibility, workspace, private or public. I'm gonna make this public. They do have a paid version, but I only use the free version. So then we're gonna hit create. And your board is going to look something like this. And as you can see, this board is extremely blank. We're going to fix that. For purposes of today, I'm going to do exactly like I do when I'm setting up for a D&D game. So first, I am going to come over here to the three lines next to share, and I'm going to hit about this board. This is where you type in your description describing what the board is about. Tutorial for TOD, how to Trello. And then I'm going to scroll and hit save. And if you have multiple people on the board, they can comment on the cards, which I'll show you what cards are in a second. Or you can change that to disable or only certain people, that kind of thing. We're not gonna mess with that though, because there's nobody in this board except me. Then, if you go down one more in the same menu to activity, you can see everything that has ever been done to this board. And if you want to see comments, they'll show up here. And I'll show you what I mean by comments in a second. If you accidentally archive an item or delete it, it doesn't actually delete. It just goes into the archive items. Once it goes into the archive items, you can go to this list and there will be a little trash can next to an item. If you hit the trash can, it is gone forever, like kaput. If it's still in this list, you can retrieve it. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Now, let's say I really do not like this background. So I'm going to change it to a map of Veldoria, which is a map campaign I made for TOD. And we're going to back out of this menu. So now I've got this lovely view of a map. I have my details about the Trello board. My title, I'm going to star this because I think it's important and I want to see it before other boards. So now we're going to get started. So typically, what Trello board is, the best way I can describe it, it is a digital corkboard with movable index cards. That's the entire basis of Trello board. And to give you an example, I want to start doing some lists. Would y'all like to give me a name for a list that y'all would like to see?
NPCs.
NPCs? Okay. So we're gonna do NPCs and then we're gonna hit enter. And now we have a column just for NPCs. To keep with the theme, we're gonna do one for maps and then one for, let's do one for assets, such as weapon lists, potions, inventories, that kind of thing. I usually don't do such a broad category. We'll make it work. And then, since you're a DM, There's always going to be a to-do list, a currently working on list. Right now, my little thing has carried off the screen a bit. I'm going to rearrange these real quick. So I'm going to drag this list to the front because this is the list that I need to see that has to be done. And then this currently working on list, I'm going to drag it over to right next to it. And then I'm going to make another list for done, completed. And you might be wondering, why do that when I could just archive something? So archived items usually will disappear, I think it's after 2 months. And if you're doing a really long campaign and you may need to retrieve some information, let's say you were a year and a half into a campaign and you need to retrieve some information from session 7, you can't do that if you archived it. But you can do it if it's in the done or completed column. Let's say you have a NPC that you're creating, an innkeeper, a blacksmith, and a stable boy. Who doesn't love a good stable boy? And as you can see, I just clicked on the card and it gave me a massive menu to change or alter the title. Once you've already hit enter, you can click here and then add whatever you want. Let's say he is secretly evil. Now you have a description for him. So I am going to take that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to delete it from the title and put it in the description and hit save. And now I have a nice little description. What if I have a photo of him already and I want his photo to be associated with this card? The best part about this is you can put attachments. You can put files, you can put photos, pretty much anything you want. And if you have a link, you can put that in there. But for today, I'm going to open my computer. I'm just going to choose this guy. He doesn't look evil at all, but that's perfect. And it will almost always put the first image that you attach as the cover. Now, if I end up changing my mind and I decide I don't want that picture to be for him, or I want more than one option of him, like let's say this is him as a kid and I need an image of him as he's older. I'm going to go to attachment and then I'm going to pick another NPC token. Now it didn't change the cover, but as you can see, it's in the card. Now, what if I don't want his younger self as part of the card? Let's say further in the campaign, time moves faster than IRL time, so maybe he's grown up like 10 years. Well, then I'm going to go to the right of the file I want to be the cover, click these little dots. I'm going to hit make cover. And as you can see, it changed the cover. Now, let's say I decide I just absolutely do not need this photo attached to the card. I can come down here. I could hit delete. If it says delete, it will permanently delete. For small assets like this and stuff on a card, it will delete. But for larger, like the card itself, I can actually hit archive, which will send it to that list I showed you in the beginning. And I'll do that in a second. But let's say instead of deleting, I want to make a note about this one. I can hit comment and it'll attach what I'm commenting and say this is when he was younger. Let's say I'm gonna hit watch. So that way when somebody replies to this, I will get a notification, typically via email, or it'll show up in the activities or a little notification bar at the top. I'm gonna hit save. So now you can see I commented. Anybody that comments on this card, anything about this card, it will show up at the bottom below activities. Let's say I need a map of general store. Now, I want it to have some fishing goods. Actually, I can't decide on what I want it to have. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, I can't decide, but I know a tool that will help me decide. I also know a tool that's going to help me keep track of what I put in my map. every single card has the option of a checklist. So I'm going to hit checklist. I can name this checklist anything I want. I am going to name it things to add for general store. And I'm going to hit add. And then it's going to show up in the middle of the card below description. Now, I could look up grocery stores or general stores and then type these out one by one. I could do that. Or, hear me out, I could go over to ChatGPT and tell it, please generate a one-liner list of things to put in a D&D general store map. Give it a second. All right, so as you can see, it gave me all those things. I'm going to copy that and then I'm going to hit paste. Now, as you can see, it pasted it all in at once. Now, you would think if I hit enter, that's going to be one really big checklist, right? Wrong. If you'll notice, I put the word one-liner and I made sure it was in bold so it would know that's important. One-liner means that it will put a enter or a space or a some kind of punctuation at the end of every item, which allows when I go back into Trello board it to read it. So when I do this, hit add, it will magically input each item for me individually. So that way I can go, boom, this is done, but I still have all this to do. Okay? Now, let's say my game is 2 weeks from now and I have more important things to work on, but I am going to work on this in tandem with other things. But I need a reminder. There's a tool for that. If I hit dates, as you can see, I can put a start date in that it'll automatically populate today's date. And if I click over here on the due date, let's say my game, which my actual game is on the 3rd, let's say I want a reminder for 10 a.m. I can set the reminders for 5, 10 minutes before, an hour, 2 hours. So I'm going to set this to remind me 2 days before, and my deadline is 10 a.m. on the 3rd. So I have to have this done before 10 a.m. if I was actually working on this. And as you can see, it gives me another little check. I can either watch or not watch. I'll set it to watch. And let's say February 3rd rolls around, or actually a couple days before February 3rd. I can click this. It'll show me completed. Or let's say the priority for this has moved up and I have other cards in my Trello board that are not nearly as important. I can color code my cards. So let's say this isn't the highest priority, which I normally color code as red. But let's say it's pretty high up there. So I'm gonna hit this as orange. So I know to check on my progress regularly. Now let's say this guy, I need like ASAP, like immediately. And let's say the due date for this one is actually Tuesday. And I want, actually, I'm gonna set the reminder to 2 hours before. But this guy is way more important than that guy. So I am going to set the label to red. I'm just going to label it as to do. Let's say I haven't given this guy a backstory, a quest, or a shop inventory, which I know he's a stable boy, but it's fine. This guy, he needs backstory, he needs a quest, and he needs it ASAP. Let's say I get it done in time. I'm going to click out of it. And as you can see, this card is done. You can see it's done, but as you can see on this one hasn't been checked out. You can also see these lines mean it has a description. This means it has a comment. This means it has multiple attachments. And this means it has a checklist and it'll show you exactly how many items are in the checklist versus how many are done. So like this one has a longer checklist. I'm just going to check a bunch of these as if I have done them. I'm going to click out. You see it has updated. Let's say I haven't finished this yet, but I want to have some place where I know I'm currently working on it. I can either just move it and I can see all of the lists that I have. I can also see what position it's in. I can move it to any position I wanted within the list it's in. Or if I want to have one that I can see in the currently working on, I can copy it. Okay, and I can choose to keep the checklist, the labels, the attachment, or I can deselect that. Let's say I deselect the comments. If you have multiple boards like I do, you could even move this to another board. I do want to move this to currently working on, and since there's nothing else in the currently working on, it's going to go into position one. I'm going to hit create card. So when I back out of this, bam, it's in the currently working on list. Let's say I want to move all the cards in this list without deleting the list or moving the list around. I can hit move all cards to the list and I can move them to done or complete. As you can see, they disappeared. If I scroll on over here, they're in the done and complete section. I know I mentioned earlier something about deleting versus archiving. Let's say I really cannot stand this card. I'm going to hit archive. Let's say I don't want to just delete it. Then if I go to archived items, there it is. Okay. Instead of going all the way in the card to archive it, I can right click a card and the same menu that's inside a card is going to open as a pop out. So I'm going to right click, does the little side menu. I'm going to hit archive. It disappears, which is what I want. If I did it correctly, it shouldn't disappear permanently. So it is showing an archive. Let's say I decided I really do not need this card. I will never need the information on this card again, and I don't want it taking up space. I'm gonna hit delete. As you can see, it says all actions will be removed from the activity feed and you won't be able to reopen the card. There is no undo. This card is permanently gone. Like Zippo is gone. You cannot retrieve this card again. Now, pretend I have like a million cards in this list and this everything in this list is no longer needed. I am going to archive this list. I'm going to go to archive items, switch to list. Yes, this list is in the archived items. I'm going to delete this list. And it'll even give me a little pop-up. Delete the list. There is no undo. Yes. Is there anything that I've mentioned or that I've done that y'all have had questions on or were curious about?
What are the filters?
So I can filter the members, I can filter the due dates, I can even filter the cards by labels or by activity. So let's say I want to filter my cards by no due dates. It'll only show me the cards that don't have a due date. A good one to probably show y'all. I won't do any spoilers because I won't open anything. Let me filter everything by the color red. Wrong red. Yes, there we go. I filtered it, and as you can see, it is showing me everything that I have labeled red, which for me is like of utmost high priority, needs to be done. You can make your boards however you want. They don't have to be exactly the way I do them. I just gave that as like an example. As you can see, I have NPCs, list of things to add to the world map, things to add priority. As you can see, I have a ton of attachments in these boards. So let me go back to our little board that we were working on. I believe that is everything I had planned to talk about involving Trello board.
You know the difference between the pricing if you want to do it free versus not free? Because I know you said in the middle of the tutorial, you're like, oh, wait, no, this one is not a free thing.
It's just $10 a month pricing. Premium's 10, standard's 5. So if you wanted to do the cheaper for small team, even enterprise is less than, that's actually not bad.
Those are all cost per user. So if you have multiple users on the board, then you have to pay extra.
Right. But as far as the free version goes, I believe it'll let you have up to 10 members on a board, and you can have up to 10 boards per workspace. Let's say I don't need this board anymore for all intents and purposes. Um, I can hit delete this board, and then it doesn't take up one of my 10 slots in a workspace anymore. Oh, something I did not cover. I can email this board. I can set it to email me updates and activity daily, once a week, bi-weekly, monthly. I can copy this board. So if I want to make a duplicate and I want it to be a private board, I can. So if I want my own copy of this board, I can. I can also print it or share it to where somebody can visit it without actually being a member. They won't be able to like change anything. They'll just be able to view the board. And if I print it, it'll print just like PowerPoint sheets. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this board because I don't need it anymore. Permanently delete, delete. It'll ask you to verify a couple times. And as you can see, I suddenly have the same amount of space in my workspace as I did before, 6 remaining boards. And I can delete all these as much as I want. I can also see all the boards that I have closed. I don't know why it's not showing me the TOD one that I just closed. But as you can see, I have closed boards before, and I can reopen them or I can delete.
I think you deleted that last one, the TOD one.
Ah, that's why.
How do you customize the backgrounds for them? Because obviously certain ones you have the generic images choices, and then other ones you are allowed to choose your background. I see a couple of the space ones, which is obviously a default, but obviously the ones that have maps are ones that you upload your own background to.
So if I thought I did it at the beginning, but I'll do it again. If I go to these 3 dots next to share, where I do the about board and all that, if you go the 5th one down, change background, I can either upload or I can select one of their pre-photo ones, and I can click on it and it'll automatically change it. Or if the images are too distracting, you can just do color. Or, like I said, if you have your own personal image. Oh, there it goes. There you go. New background.
Is there a limit to how many cards you can put on?
Not that I have seen. Like my Zuku's campaign, I just realized I have no clue how many cards I have.
A lot.
Yeah, we've added a lot. I've even got copies of cards throughout. And as you can see, I don't even know how many lists I have because this used to be before it was a D&D campaign, it was notes for a video game. As far as I can tell, there's not a limit. If there is a limit, I have not hit the said limit. I think that's everything about Trello board that I know how to do.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.